to share now?
Yeah, sounds good.
Now it keeps saying.
Oh, hold on. That's my bad. My bad. I didn't tick the arrow. You should be good now.
Yep. Are we good?
Looks good to me. It's still your slide deck on the side. So yeah, once you expand it, it should look fine. Yeah, perfect.
All right. So today we're going to focus on just one aspect of a training that I had. It was a marathon training on systematic reviews and scoping reviews and all that. So I'm going to focus today's presentation on scoping reviews, and that is what currently I am working on for my dissertation. And I guess it's an opportunity to share what the lessons I took from that workshop with the rest of the group. So for today's presentation, I have just three basic objectives. First of all, I would like to define and describe what a scoping review is, outline the steps for conducting a scoping review, and discuss the development of a scoping review protocol. So what are scoping reviews? I took a definition from the Canadian Institute of Health Research, which is the main funding body in Canada here, that is focused on supporting research related to health and healthcare. And it's, by its definition, it says that it is, scoping reviews are exploratory projects that systematically map out available literature on a topic and identifying key concepts or theories or sources of evidence and gaps that are currently in a particular topic or research. So why do we conduct scoping reviews? And a study by Trickle and his colleagues identified several of them, and I just took a few of them here. And first of all, it helps us to provide an overview of what is available in the literature, identify key themes or definitions in a particular concept that we are looking at. And secondly, it also helps summarize or disseminate findings from the body of research evidence that is available out there. And systematic scoping reviews help us identify gaps in existing literature to support future research that we might want to undertake. And lastly, but not the least, it also determines whether to conduct a full systematic review. And this is an opportunity for you to, like we previously said, or the previous reasons outlined, says it helps us identify gaps. So if we want to conduct a systematic review, a scoping review might be a very good starting point to be able to map out where specifically you think there's an area of need that to undertake. And lastly, it helps us examine how research in a particular topic has been conducted. So scoping review methods, and the initial or the earlier scoping review methods were developed by Akse and O'Malley, and these guys are quite popular in terms of scoping reviews, and they came out with the first initial frameworks that helps guide researchers in terms of how to undertake scoping reviews. And further along the line, it was further elaborated or refined by Levac et al. As well in that same line. And then JBI is another body that is also focused on evidence synthesis, and they are also quite, they also came up with a guideline or manual on how to conduct scoping reviews, including other reviews like systematic reviews. And they have always been updating their manual regularly. And the first one was in 2015 and has been subsequently updated in 2017, 2020, and 2021. Now for JBIs, I'm going to focus my presentation on JBI because the workshop that I participated in was organized by JBI Training Institute. So most of what I'm going to discuss is just going to be based on the principles and perspectives of what how scoping review should be done based on their guidelines. Oh, sorry. So according to their manual or guidelines, every scoping review should start with a protocol. And the first step in developing your scoping review is to develop a protocol, and then the protocol would help you undertake further steps like searching for relevant studies, and then you move to the second stage of study selection, and then you chart your evidence based on the studies that you have identified, and then they have a fourth or a fifth step which says risks of bias and appraisal, and according to them, it's when it comes to scoping reviews, this is quite optional, and you can do it or you choose not to do it, because in scoping reviews, you are not really looking at testing any hypothesis. You are just hoping to identify or give us an overview of what is available or what has been done so far in a specific topic. So you are not necessarily looking at the outcomes or testing any hypothesis. So in terms of risk bias, it's optional, and for their guidance, you don't really need to do it. And then the second, but not the least, is data synthesis. After you've done charting of your evidence, you can synthesize your data, and that ends the process in terms of conducting scoping reviews. So this takes us to the second part of the presentation on how to develop a JBI protocol for scoping review. Now, like I mentioned earlier on, a scoping review should begin with a protocol, and this is very important in the sense that it provides you more or less like a blueprint, so that whilst it guides you or informs your progress as you work along, and provides you the opportunity to limit any biases that might not be able to be mitigated if you didn't have any guide or any steps that you were trying to use to undertake this. And the protocol is also an opportunity for you to help other researchers understand what you are currently conducting, and they will not be recycling of the same issue or topic that most maybe other researchers are working on. So if you're able to come up with a protocol and share with the scientific world, then everybody knows what is being done, so that there's no duplication of the same task. And then an opportunity is available to publish your protocol in platforms like the Open Science Framework or Figshare, and that makes it easily accessible to other researchers. Now, we're now going to break down the components of what your protocol should entail in terms of a scoping review. Now, for JBI specifications, your title, which is the first part of your protocol, should be informative and clear indication of your topic. And it should specifically indicate what you're doing, and that is a scoping review. And it shouldn't be structured in the sense of you asking a question. And lastly, it should have these three frameworks that mostly guide a scoping review, and that is the population that you're looking at, the concept, or could be the phenomenon of interest that you are looking at, and the context in which you are conducting your studies, or the studies that you are reviewing. What context are you looking at? So it could be maybe you are looking at literature available in Canada, or you are looking at literature available in a particular system. You are looking at literature available in the whole of North America or whatever. So the context is very important. And the concept is what I'm talking about. So it may be, what is the main idea that you're looking at? What is the main phenomena that you're looking at? Whether you're looking at well-being, you're looking at cancer, or whatever topic that you're hoping to study. And then the population looks at the specific participants that are of interest to you. Whether you're looking at a youth population, you're looking at women, or you're looking at men. So all these things must be captured in your title. And it leads you to the first and the major thing that people would like to know. What is your question? What is your review question? And this is important because it helps you even to develop your protocol, and it provides guidance as to what to include in the review, like in terms of the studies that you are reviewing at, and what to exclude. It also facilitates your literature search. And again, it's also important that your research question incorporates the population, the concept, and the context that you are looking at. And lastly, your research questions might also come out with sub questions. So let's say you have a main theme, like you're looking at well-being, like that's a very huge concept, right? It has other sub concepts under it. So if you say you're looking at well-being, someone might ask you, okay, what is well-being? And then you want to unpack what well-being might be. It might be that you're looking at mental well-being, you're looking at physical well-being. So your sub questions might look at these sub components of what your overarching question might be. Based on what we've just talked about, I just want to pick people's ideas so far on what we said so far. So maybe just feel free to respond to these questions on the chat box section, and just to find out from people, which of these two questions do you think is a very great scoping review question based on the things we've learned so far? Okay, so I see a couple of answers. Yep. I see B seems to be what most people are going for. Okay, so thanks for your input. And someone said, I don't see A as a problem. I don't see problem with A. Okay, great. I will go with A to mix it up. Great. Yeah, so I just at this point, I just wanna feel free to jump in. And those who chose B, why did you choose B? And someone, okay, let's start with A. Why did you choose A? I see Emily said A, and Mike as well.
Yeah, I chose A because it's specific. It's, to me, it seems like the population would be those who have received the vaccine, and the context is Canada, and the concept is neurological reactions. So it seems like it checks the 3 boxes for me. That was my logic. But then if you look at B as well, it says migrant population, so that's population. The concept is digital mental health resources, or the piece, and then the context. I couldn't find a context, like it doesn't say in Canada, so that's why I went with A over B.
Awesome, great. And let's go with the people with B who thinks otherwise, and why B is the best of the two. Anybody can feel free to jump in. All right. Yeah, I think I'll agree with Emily. Looking at the concept we just talked about, population uh, uh, concept and context, you realize that BA has all these three components. B is a good question, but it's missing one thing, and that is the context. The person could have rephrased it to be maybe you are looking at immigrants worldwide, or you are looking at migrants in Canada, or you're looking at migrants in Africa. Like, it gives us a context about what you are looking at. But as it stands now, it's really wide, and you are making your readers probably assume that you are probably going to look at it from a different for their own perspective, right? All right, great answers. Thank you so much. All right, we can proceed now. So for protocol, you must have an introduction, and your introduction should be very comprehensive and cover all the main elements of your topic. And again, it's very important that it clearly states why you are conducting the scoping review. And then lastly, it must have or provide a detailed definition. So if you're looking at concepts that may be that needs clarification of what your readers should know, it's good that at that stage where you need to define them clearly for people to understand. So for me, like this, I'm working on nature-based programs. Sometimes when I mention nature-based programs, people don't know what I'm talking about, right? These are not common terms. So it's at this point that I need to define what a nature-based program is, right? Or let's say a term like newcomer. Newcomers can be used to define people who have just recently arrived in Canada, but there are subpopulations under newcomers, whether they are immigrants, they are refugees, they are whatever. So it's good you let your readers really understand the terms that you are using at this point. Okay, so it is also important that for your introduction, information is put or provided in terms of what is your inclusion criteria, and then state clearly whether there has been an existing scoping review that has been done in the area. And then most importantly, let your introduction conclude with what objective your review is seeking to achieve. And for JBI, their manuals or their specifications outlines that your introduction should be a maximum of 1,000 words. Now let's look at inclusion criteria. And again, we're going to see those concepts again. Participants, and participants specifically refers to the important characteristics that should be outlined, whether by age. If I say youth, what age category of youth am I looking at? Am I looking from age 14 to 24, or I'm looking from 15 to 30? So be very clear in terms of how you define your participants. And then the concept, again, is also important because you need to articulate to your readers to understand what specifically you are looking at, what is the intervention or whether the phenomena that you are looking at. And then the context, again, we saw how important that is, and the type of evidence you are looking at, what is available, so people can do reviews basically on blogs, people can do reviews on published literature. So depending on what evidence you are seeking to, I've seen people done reviews on social media. So posts on social media and stuff like that, or blogs. So let us understand what exactly you are looking at. If you are looking at all these aspects of literature that are out there, then you still clearly state that. Now, and that leads us to the next stage of your protocol, and which is developing a search strategy. And it's important because it aims to provide a comprehensive, or to be comprehensive as possible in terms of your time and resources. So if you have any limitations, you need to provide reasons as to why you are you have certain limitations in terms of time or resources. And for JBI, there are 3 steps to developing a strategy, a search strategy. And the first one is to, first of all, conduct an initial search. And the initial search should be done by 2 reviewers. So, and they must be done independently. And it's not like you're comparing your work, so that at least it provides the opportunity for differences that might come out to be identified and be addressed. So, and then from that stage, you would move to the second stage, which is searching the keywords that have been identified in your online databases. So like, it's important that you do at least 2 online database searches, and what comes up are what you're going to use to develop your further search. And then you include those keywords in your further search. And then you, from those articles that pop up that you think are of relevance to you, it's also important that you look at the references of these articles, and they might be of relevance to be able to work towards identifying other relevant studies, a sort of a snowball approach. Statement on reviewer intent to contact authors if relevant. So if you feel at a point where you need further information, clarification about certain things that maybe you think you cannot have readily available on based on what is available on the internet, or and you want to contact the authors, it's very important that you indicate that in your protocol. And then grey literature is very important. Sometimes, mostly, we tend to focus on what is peer reviewed, but there is a bunch of relevant information that might not be published, but very important to the topic that you are looking at. Yeah, and there's a search strategy for one's database, which they call the peer review electronic search strategy. So like, you need to develop one, and then that should be something like an appendix that you need to attach, so that people reading your protocol understand how you came up with your search strategy. What are the bullet words you're using? How specific are they to be able to identify relevant articles? Or yes, so you need to provide evidence of that as well. And it's recommended that there shouldn't be restrictions in terms of language. So maybe you're conducting a research on a topic in let's say Africa, and Africa is so diverse, and so many French speakers, Portuguese speakers, English speakers. So you have a vast of literature on all these languages, right? And Africa is your context. You cannot just limit your articles to English articles or in a specific language. If you do, you need to justify why you are doing that. And then your search strategy, there should be one search strategy. Like I was saying, you come up with a search strategy. If you are using that for other databases, that is what you use throughout as what's desirable. And then it is also important to be very transparent and about your search strategy, and then your search strategy should be auditable. That should be able to be reviewed by someone. Most especially, the recommendation is that you seek the assistance of librarians, because they are the experts in that field. And sources of evidence selection. So describe the process of source selection for all stages of selection, include any software. So again, I'm seeing some charts. Let me, oh, okay. They are not necessary for me. Okay. All right. So if you are using any software, it is important that you would indicate that and explain how that software is going to be used. So like, you see the picture there is a JBI software. It's called Summary, and it's a web-based platform where you can start working from your protocol to the review itself. So look at those tabs there. You see there's a protocol tab, there are status tabs, so, and then there are participants, and you can share with your co-reviewers on what you're working on, and everybody has access to what you're doing and be able to review and make comments. And for it, during the workshop, they give us hands-on training on this software, and I think it's very key. It's very important. It reduces the idea of sending emails between your your reviewers and all that. Everybody has access to the logins, and then you can get in and know what someone has done so far and what you can also do, so that at least it's very updated and you're not missing out on anything. And then it's also provided opportunity to extract any articles that you think are relevant to your review and all that. So all these tabs provide you different functions that you might use. And then describe how your selection will be performed. So again, it is important that you have 2 or more reviewers doing this independently. If there's a disagreement, there's the need for a 3rd reviewer to come in, and then the differences are resolved by consensus. Okay, data extraction. And for data extraction, it's there is a template from the GPI that helps you be able to lay down or outline all the articles and how they are important to you in terms of population, year of publication, concept, whatever, or outcomes that you're looking at. So all those forms are sort of a way of you being able to gather all the relevant data that you need or studies that you need. And it gives you a very good sense of what the results are as you work along, so that it makes it easier for you. For GPI, it's the advice that you pilot this before you even begin with it, and then 2 reviewers should do the piloting to see whether it's really be able to identify the things that you need and how you can adjust if need be. It is can be further refined to review stage and charting form updated. So just to keep a careful records of it to identify each source, so that at least if you want to go back, you'll be able to know how you came in contact with this article. One of the main challenges is you are dealing with a bunch of articles, different publications. So if sometimes you need to go back and review about something, it's very difficult to even know who published this, where did I put this, right? But with that template, you'll be able to narrow your focus and your search and easily gather or identify your documents. And for analysis, again, for the specifications by JPI says that do not need to synthesize the outcomes of included sources. And by that, what it means is that you are not really looking at, like I say, you are not looking at testing hypothesis, or you are not looking at informing policy direction. You are only seeking to identify what has been done and what is missing. So you are not really going to analyze. And so it says, and that leads us to the second point. We say qualitative analysis should be very basically descriptive. You are telling us basically what you are seeing in terms of what is out there. You are not making meaning to what, or making inferences to what is done. And same way with quantitative analysis. You are not making any sophisticated analysis about what evidence is out there. And data analysis is basically dependent on the purpose of your review and your judgment. And lastly, it should be transparent and explicit to the approach, and you need to justify each approach that you undertake. Presentation of results. So provide a plan for presentation. So your protocol should give us an outline of how you hope to present the findings, and some common ones people use or researchers use to present tables and charts. And then by there you have a distribution in terms of the year of publication of the article, the country of origin, the area of the intervention or the concept that you are looking at, the research methods that were used in that publication. Yes, and then we come to the end of the presentation. I'm happy to take questions and suggestions.
Thanks so much, Michael. That was really excellent. That was so detailed, and I learned a lot from that. I really did. I know the way that I've been doing scoping reviews is really basic, and I just love the amount of detail in here. Yeah. Questions for Michael. There's so much useful stuff in here for everyone, I feel like.
Yeah. it's a bunch of information that we learned so much that I was even struggling to what am I going to present and leave, what am I leaving out and what am I so it was really so much information from scoping reviews to systematic reviews or qualitative reviews, mixed method reviews. So like I guess I'm working on a scope review, so I guess I felt it makes sense for me to just focus on that. At least maybe there might be an opportunity some other time to delve into the other aspects that I learned. Yeah.
Yeah. Do they do the workshop every year? Is that something that they run frequently?
I think they might because the last time this is the second time I heard about it, and that's the second time I attended. The first time I heard about it, it was I think 2 years ago. So I'm not sure whether it's done yearly, but I do know